Chapter 1. The Hand That Held Too Tight. The subway platform reeked of sweat and stale coffee, and the crowd pressed against me like a living wall. I hated the evening rush, the way strangers became an amorphous mass of elbows and briefcases, the way personal space became a luxury I couldn't afford on my nurse's salary. That's when I felt the hand slide across my lower back. Too deliberate, too slow. The kind of touch that made my skin crawl and my heart hammer against my ribs. I spun around, but the man was already melting back into the crowd, a smirk on his thin lips, eyes daring me to make a scene. My throat tightened. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, and for a moment, the platform seemed to tilt beneath my feet. Not again. My therapist's voice echoed in my head. "You're safe now, Elena. What happened 2 years ago, it's over." But it didn't feel over. Not when strange men thought they could put their hands on me. Not when my body still remembered how to freeze, how to become stone. The train screeched into the station, and panic clawed up my throat. I couldn't get on. Not with him nearby. Not with the memory of another crowded space. Another man who'd thought I was easy prey. That's when I saw the hand. Strong, steady, extended through the chaos like an anchor in a storm. I didn't think. I just grabbed it. The moment my fingers wrapped around his, everything changed. The hand didn't just hold mine, it consumed it. His grip was iron, possessive, as if my touch had triggered something primal. Heat radiated from his palm, traveling up my arm and settling low in my stomach. I looked up. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with shoulders that seemed to part the crowd effortlessly. Dark hair, perfectly styled despite the chaos. A jaw sharp enough to cut glass. But it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Dark, penetrating. The kind of eyes that saw everything and revealed nothing. He stared down at me with an intensity that made the crowded platform disappear. For a heartbeat, we existed in a vacuum where only his hand and mine mattered, where the heat between our palms felt like a promise and a threat. "Are you all right?" His voice was low, smooth as aged whiskey, with an edge that suggested he already knew the answer. I should have let go, should have thanked him and disappeared into the crowd. But his hand tightened fractionally, and I realized with a start that he wasn't planning to release me. Yes, thank you." My voice came out breathless, embarrassingly weak. His eyes narrowed, scanning the crowd behind me with practiced efficiency. When his gaze found the man who'd touched me, something dark flickered across his features, something that made my pulse quicken for an entirely different reason. "Which one?" he asked quietly. "What? Which one touched you?" The question wasn't concerned, it was tactical. Cold. Like he was calculating the most efficient way to eliminate a problem. "I don't. It's fine. I just needed." I tried to pull my hand away, suddenly aware of how close we were, how his expensive cologne cut through the stale air, how his other hand had somehow found my waist, steadying me against the surge of bodies pushing toward the train. "Don't lie to me, Tesoro." The Italian endearment rolled off his tongue like a caress and a command. "I can feel you shaking." He was right. I was trembling, but now I wasn't sure if it was from fear or from the way his thumb traced small circles on my hip bone, burning through the thin fabric of my scrubs. Before I could answer, 3 men materialized beside us. They appeared so seamlessly from the crowd that it felt choreographed. All wore dark suits. All had the same watchful, predatory stillness. They flanked us without a word, creating a protective barrier that made other commuters instinctively step back. My heart stuttered. "Who are you?" The corner of his mouth lifted in something that wasn't quite a smile. Someone who doesn't let go once he's decided to hold on. The train doors began to close, and in one fluid motion, he pulled me through them, his men following like shadows. The crowd parted for them automatically, instinctively sensing danger even if they couldn't name it. We stood in the corner of the car, his body a wall between me and everyone else. His hand still wrapped around mine like a shackle I wasn't sure I wanted to escape. "You should let me go," I whispered, but I didn't pull away. "Should I?" His free hand came up to cut my jaw, tilting my face toward his. "Tell me, Elena, when was the last time someone made you feel safe in a crowd?" Ice flooded my veins. "How do you know my name?" His thumb traced my lower lip, and I saw it then, the hospital ID badge clipped to my scrubs. But the way he'd said my name, like he'd been waiting to taste it on his tongue, suggested he would have learned it regardless. "I make it my business to know everything." His eyes held mine, daring me to look away, especially when something interests me. "I'm not a something." "No." His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the crowded car. "You're not." The train lurched, pressing me harder against him, and I felt the solid muscle beneath his tailored suit, the coiled strength of a man who'd never needed to prove his power because everyone already knew. "This is my stop," I lied, desperately needing distance, needing to think clearly without his scent clouding my judgment. "Then it's mine too." And as the doors slid open, and he guided me onto the platform with a hand on my lower back proprietary, claiming I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. I'd grabbed the wrong hand for safety. Or perhaps I'd grabbed exactly the right one, and he had no intention of ever letting go. Chapter 2. Fall into danger. The platform was nearly empty at this stop, which should have comforted me. Instead, it made the presence of his 3 guards even more conspicuous. They maintained a precise distance close enough to intervene, far enough to give the illusion of privacy. "I don't know what you think is happening here," I said, trying to inject steel into my voice, "but I need to go home." "Where's home, Elena?" The question sounded casual, but nothing about this man was casual. Every word was calculated, every movement deliberate. I'd spent 2 years working in the ER, reading people's intentions in the space between heartbeats. This man was dangerous, and I was still letting him touch me. "That's none of your business." I finally pulled my hand free, and the loss of contact felt like tearing off a bandage, sharp and immediate. He didn't reach for me again, but his dark eyes tracked every micro-expression on my face. "You grabbed my hand. You made it my business. I made a mistake." "Did you?" He stepped closer, backing me against the tiled wall. Not threatening, but inescapable. "Your pulse is racing, your pupils are dilated, but you're not running. There are 4 of you and 1 of me. Where exactly would I run?" His jaw tightened, and for the first time, I saw something that might have been hurt flash across his features before the mask slammed back into place. "You think I would stop you?" I hesitated, because the truth was I didn't know what to think. "I think I don't know who you are or what you want." "My name is Dante Moretti." He said it like it should mean something. When I didn't react, his lips curved into something darker than a smile. "You really don't know." "Should I?" One of his guards, a mountain of a man with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, muttered something in Italian. Dante silenced him with a look that could have frozen fire. "Perhaps that's what makes you so refreshing." Dante's attention returned to me, his gaze softening fractionally. "Everyone else sees the name first. You just saw a hand to hold. I needed help, and I gave it to you." His voice dropped to that whiskey-smooth register that made my stomach tighten. "The man who touched you, he won't do it again. Not to you, not to anyone." The words should have sounded reassuring. Instead, they sounded like a death sentence. "What did you do?" I whispered. "I made a phone call." He pulled out his cell phone, sleek, expensive, probably worth more than my monthly rent, and showed me the screen. A photo of the man from the subway, crystal clear despite the crowd. "His name is Robert Chen. He has 3 prior complaints for harassment. The police did nothing. I will. You can't just..." "I can. I do." He pocketed the phone. "Men like him thrive because no one stops them. I stop them." There was conviction in his voice, a core of absolute certainty that made me want to believe him. But the way his guards stood, hands inside their jackets where I knew weapons must be holstered, reminded me that stopping and killing might be the same thing in his world. "I don't want anyone hurt because of me." "Too late, Tesoro. The moment you touched me, you became mine to protect." The possessiveness in those words should have sent me running. Instead, some broken part of me, the part that had been violated and helpless, leaned into it. "I'm not yours," I said, but even I heard the lack of conviction. "Not yet." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear with devastating gentleness. "But you will be." A black SUV pulled up to the curb with the smooth precision of choreography. The windows were tinted so dark they looked like voids. One of the guards opened the back door, and I saw the interior leather seats, chrome accents, the kind of luxury I'd only glimpsed in magazines. "I'll have my driver take you home," Dante said. "I can take the train." "No." The word was absolute. "You can't. Not anymore." "Why not?" He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. "Because I had my men search that platform. Robert Chen had a knife, Elena. A knife and a plan. You didn't just grab my hand for comfort. You grabbed it for survival." The world tilted. I remembered the weight of his stare, the way he'd tracked me through the crowd like a predator selecting prey. My therapist had called it hypervigilance, this ability to sense danger, But I'd convinced myself I was overreacting, being paranoid. How do I know you're telling the truth? My voice broke on the last word. Dante pulled back, studying my face with an intensity that felt like being X-rayed. Then he made a decision. He snapped his fingers, and one of his guards approached, pulling out a sealed plastic bag. Inside was a folding knife, the blade already exposed, the edge catching the fluorescent light. We found it in his jacket pocket. I've already called the police. They'll pick him up within the hour. Dante's expression was granite. But they'll just process him. Give him a court date he won't show up for. Release him to do it again. And what will you do? I'll make sure he understands that touching what's mine has consequences. I'm not— You keep saying that. He stepped back, giving me space I no longer wanted. But your body says otherwise. You haven't looked at the exit once. You've been watching me like I'm the only safe place in a burning building. He was right, and I hated that he was right. Get in the car, Elena. Let me take you somewhere safe. And then, if you want to walk away, I won't stop you. His voice softened. But I don't think you will. I looked at the SUV, at the guards, at the knife that had been meant for me. Then I looked at Dante, this stranger who somehow felt familiar, who'd seen my fear and met it with protection instead of pity. I got in the car. As the door closed behind me and Dante slid in beside me, his thigh pressed against mine in the confined space, I realized my mistake. He'd said he wouldn't stop me from walking away. He'd never said he wouldn't convince me to stay. And as the SUV pulled into traffic and I caught sight of his guards following in a second vehicle, I understood with crystal clarity. I hadn't escaped danger on that platform. I'd just traded one predator for another. Only this one wanted to keep me alive. Chapter 3. First connection. The drive through the city should have felt wrong being in a car with a stranger whose name I'd already Googled on my phone, finding nothing but a few mentions in business journals and society pages. No criminal record, no scandals, just money and influence that stretched into shadows I couldn't see. But Dante didn't feel like a stranger. He sat beside me, his presence consuming the space, yet he hadn't touched me since we'd entered the vehicle. His hands rested on his thighs, elegant and still, but I noticed the scarring across his knuckles, old wounds from fights I could only imagine. "You're staring," he said without looking at me. "You knew my name. Fair's fair." That earned me a glance, something that might have been amusement flickering in his dark eyes. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." The word came out before I could stop it. I want to know why a man with a driver and armed guards was on a subway platform. I want to know why you look at me like you've been searching for something and just found it. I want to know why I won't let you go. The question hung between us, heavy with promise and threat. "Yes." Dante was quiet for a long moment, watching the city lights blur past the window. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made me understand this was a truth he rarely shared. 5 years ago, I watched my sister die. The words were clinical, stripped of emotion, which somehow made them more devastating. She was caught in crossfire. Wrong place, wrong time. She reached for a stranger's hand, looking for help, for safety, and he pulled away, let her fall, saved himself. My breath caught. "Dante, when you grabbed my hand tonight, I saw her, saw what she must have looked like in that moment, desperate and afraid, and I made a choice." He finally turned to face me, and I saw past the dangerous exterior to something raw underneath. "I will never be the man who lets go." Without thinking, I reached across the space between us and took his hand. His fingers immediately curled around mine, that same possessive grip, but gentler now, more human. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be sorry. Be here." His thumb traced patterns on my palm. "Tell me why you froze on that platform. Tell me what happened 2 years ago that made you so afraid of crowded spaces." I should have deflected, should have kept my trauma private. But there was something about the darkness in his eyes that recognized the darkness in mine. "I was attacked. At a concert." The words came haltingly. "I was with friends, but we got separated in the crowd. A man he put something in my drink earlier. I didn't realize until I started feeling dizzy. He cornered me near the bathrooms, touched me. Would have done more if security hadn't." Dante's hand tightened on mine, his jaw clenching so hard I could see the muscle jump. "Did they catch him?" "No. Too many people. Too much chaos. The police took my statement, but nothing came of it." I forced myself to meet his gaze. I couldn't identify him clearly. The drug messed with my memory. All I remember is the feeling of hands on me and not being able to move, not being able to scream. Elena. My name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a curse. The SUV slowed, and I realized we'd arrived at my apartment building, a modest 4-story walk-up in a neighborhood that was safe enough, but far from the luxury Dante clearly inhabited. I should have been alarmed that he knew my address without asking, but I was too emotionally raw to care. How did you... Your hospital ID. I had someone look up the address. He didn't sound apologetic. I told you. I make it my business to know everything. That's creepy. That's protective. He released my hand, but only to cut my face, forcing me to hold his gaze. What happened to you will never happen. Again, not while you're under my protection. I didn't ask for your protection. You grabbed my hand. That's the only permission I need. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I know you're afraid of me. You should be. I'm not a good man, Elena. I've done things that would make you run screaming. But with you... He paused, something vulnerable flashing across his features. With you, I want to be different. I don't even know you. Then learn me. The words were a challenge and an invitation. Have dinner with me tomorrow night. Let me show you who I am when I'm not a man on a subway platform. Every rational part of my brain screamed refusal. This man was dangerous. He had guards and secrets, and a sister who died violently. Getting involved with him would be walking into quicksand with my eyes open. But I'd spent 2 years being careful. 2 years avoiding risks in crowds and men. 2 years letting fear make my decisions. And I was tired of being afraid. One dinner, I heard myself say. Dante's smile was pure satisfaction. One dinner, and then another, and another, until you stop counting. He got out of the SUV first, scanning the street with practiced efficiency before offering me his hand. I took it, letting him help me onto the sidewalk. His guards had already positioned themselves, one near the building entrance, one by the vehicle, one I couldn't see but knew was there. You don't need to walk me up. I'm not leaving until I see you safely inside. No room for argument in that tone. We climbed the 3 flights to my apartment in silence, his hand on my lower back, burning through my scrubs. At my door, I fumbled with my keys, hyper-aware of his proximity, of the way he seemed to consume the narrow hallway. Thank you, I said, turning to face him. For tonight. For everything. Don't thank me yet, Tesoro. He leaned in, and I thought he might kiss me, wanted him to kiss me, but instead his lips brushed my forehead in a gesture so tender it made my chest ache. Lock your door. All 3 locks. And if anything frightens you, call me. He pressed a business card into my hand. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Just a name and a phone number. I don't... Tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Wear something that makes you feel beautiful. He traced my jawline one last time. And Elena? Stop fighting this. You feel it too. This thing between us. It's inevitable. Before I could respond, he was walking away, his footsteps echoing in the stairwell. I stood frozen outside my door, the business card burning in my palm, until I heard the SUV pull away. Inside my apartment, I locked all 3 locks like he'd ordered and hated that following his commands felt natural. I looked at the card again. Dante Moretti. A phone number. Nothing else. I should have thrown it away. Should have blocked his number and forgotten the dangerous man with the broken past and the possessive grip. Instead, I saved the number in my phone and lay awake all night wondering what I'd just agreed to. Chapter 4. Rising Stakes. I called in sick to work the next morning, the first time in 2 years I'd used a sick day for something other than physical illness. But I couldn't face the ER, couldn't pretend everything was normal when my entire world had tilted on its axis in the span of 12 hours. Dante had sent a text at 7 a.m. Thinking of you? My driver will collect you at 7:30 tonight. Don't argue. I'd stared at that message for 15 minutes, composing and deleting responses. Finally, I'd just sent, "Fine." His response was immediate. That's my girl. Those 3 words shouldn't have affected me. I wasn't his girl. I was a woman who'd made a questionable decision to have dinner with a stranger. That was all. Except it wasn't all. Because at noon, a delivery arrived, a garment bag from a boutique I couldn't afford even with overtime. Inside was a dress that must have cost more than my monthly rent. Midnight blue silk that felt like water against my skin, with a neckline that managed to be both elegant and suggestive. The note was written in strong, slashing handwriting. For tonight, though you'd look beautiful in anything. I should have returned it. Should have been offended that he'd presumed to buy me clothing. Instead, I spent 3 hours getting ready, telling myself it was just dinner, just one evening with a man who made me feel things I'd thought were dead. At 7:30 exactly, my buzzer rang. The driver was a different guard than last night, older, with silver in his dark hair and eyes that assessed me with professional courtesy. Miss Russo. Mr. Moretti is waiting. The SUV was the same, but this time when I slid into the back seat, I was alone. Disappointment, sharp and unexpected, cut through me. Where is he? I asked the driver. Mr. Moretti had business to attend to. He'll meet you at the restaurant. Business. The word felt ominous, weighted with implications I didn't want to explore. The restaurant was in a part of the city I rarely visited. Old money, old buildings, old secrets. No sign marked the entrance, just a discreet door with a guard who nodded to my driver and escorted me inside. The interior was stunning, dim lighting, crystal chandeliers, tables spaced far enough apart for privacy, and empty. Completely, utterly empty except for staff who moved like ghosts. Where is everyone? I asked the host. Mr. Moretti reserved the restaurant for the evening, Miss Russo. This way, please. He'd rented out an entire restaurant. For a first date. Dante stood when I entered the private dining room, and the sight of him in a tailored black suit nearly stopped my heart. He looked like sin personified, dangerous and beautiful and utterly focused on me. Elena. He crossed to me in 3 strides, taking my hand and bringing it to his lips. You're breathtaking. You bought me a dress. I bought you armor. His eyes traced the lines of the silk. I want you to feel powerful, tonight, confident, because what I'm about to tell you requires both. Fear prickled down my spine. What do you mean? Sit, eat, and then I'll explain everything. He guided me to the table, his hand lingering on my lower back. I promised you the truth. You deserve that much before you decide. Decide what? Whether you want to walk away while you still can. Dinner was exquisite, course after course of food I barely tasted, wine that cost more than my car, and conversation that felt surreal in its normalcy. Dante asked about my work, my family, my dreams. He listened with complete attention, as if every word mattered, as if I mattered. But beneath the surface, I sensed the coiled tension. The guards positioned outside the doors, the weight of secrets pressing against the intimate bubble he'd created. Finally, after dessert had been cleared and we were alone with coffee and cognac, Dante's expression hardened. I need to tell you who I am, what I am. He took my hand across the table. And I need you to listen without running. I'm listening. My family, we control significant portions of this city's infrastructure. Shipping, construction, waste management. He paused, watching my face. We also control less legal enterprises, protection, gambling, information. My stomach dropped. Your Mafia. Yes. The word was blunt, unvarnished. My father built the Moretti Empire. When he died 5 years ago, control passed to me. I have over 300 men who answer to my orders. I make decisions that affect thousands of lives. And I do it from the shadows. Because the moment I step into the light, I become a target. I should have stood up. Should have walked out. Instead I asked, why are you telling me this? Because someone knows about you. His grip tightened on my hand. Because last night, after I dropped you off, I received a message. A warning. With your photograph. The room seemed to shrink, the air becoming thick and hard to breathe. What kind of warning? Dante pulled out his phone, his jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. He showed me the screen. It was a photo of me entering my apartment building last night. Clear, professional, taken from across the street. And beneath it, a simple message. Pretty girl. Be ashamed if something happened to her. Who sent this? My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Sergei Volkov, head of the Russian faction. He's been trying to move into my territory for months. Dante's expression was pure murder. He's making you a target to get to me. But we only just met, how would he even know? Because I touched you in public. Because I let my guard down for 30 seconds on that subway platform. He stood abruptly, pacing like a caged predator. In my world, that's enough. Everyone is watching, always. And the moment I showed interest, you became valuable. Terror and fury warred in my chest. So what now? I wait for someone to come after me? No. Dante returned to me, kneeling beside my chair so we were eye level. "Now you let me protect you. Now you trust me to keep you safe while I handle Volkov." "Handle how?" His eyes went cold, and I saw the man who commanded 300 soldiers. "However I need to." "You can't." "I can. I will." He cupped my face, forcing me to see the absolute conviction in his gaze. "You grabbed my hand, Elena. You became mine to protect, and I protect what's mine with everything I have." The possessiveness should have scared me. Instead, some primal part of me responded to the promise of safety, of someone willing to burn the world down to keep me whole. "What do I need to do?" "Come with me. Tonight. To my estate. It's the most secure location in the city." He read my hesitation and added, "Separate bedrooms, my guards, complete protection. But I can't keep you safe if you're in that apartment with 3 locks that a child could pick. This is insane. We just met. And yet you're not running." His thumb brushed my cheek. "Because you feel it too. This connection. Like gravity. Like fate." He was right. I should have been terrified. Should have called the police. But what would I tell them? That a mafia boss was protecting me from another mafia boss? That I'd willingly gotten into his car, worn his dress, sat through his dinner? I'd made my choice the moment I grabbed his hand. Now I just had to live with the consequences. "One condition," I said. "Name it. You don't lie to me, ever, about anything." Dante smiled, dark and dangerous. "I can live with that." He stood, offering his hand. I took it, letting him pull me to my feet, and as we walked out of the restaurant flanked by guards, as I got into his SUV knowing I was leaving my old life behind, I realized something. I wasn't being kidnapped. I was choosing the cage, and the man holding the key looked at me like I was worth more than all his empire combined. Chapter 5. Power and Intimacy. The Moretti estate sat on 20 acres outside the city, hidden behind walls that looked decorative but I suspected were reinforced steel. Guards flanked the gates, which opened at our approach like we were entering a fortress. Which, I supposed, we were. "It's enormous," I whispered, staring at the mansion that looked like something from a period film, all stone and columns and windows that glowed with warm light. "It's home." Dante's hand found mine in the darkness of the SUV. "And now it's yours too. For as long as you need." The house was even more impressive inside. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork I suspected was original. But beneath the luxury, I noticed the security. Cameras in every corner, guards stationed at intervals, windows reinforced with what looked like bulletproof glass. This wasn't just wealth. This was war. "Elena!" A whirlwind of energy burst into the foyer, a woman in her early 60s with Dante's dark eyes and a smile that could light cities. "Finally, he's been impossible all day, pacing and ordering everyone around." "Mama," Dante groaned. "This is Elena." "Elena, my mother, Lucia. Call me Lucia, dear." She took my hands, studying my face with unnerving intensity. "Beautiful. And strong. Good. You'll need to be strong to survive, my son." We're not." I fumbled for words. "Hush, I know why you're here." Her expression sobered. "And I know what it means. You're safe here, Kara. Nothing will touch you within these walls." She squeezed my hands once more before sweeping away, calling orders in Italian to staff I hadn't noticed lurking in the shadows. "I like her," I said. "She likes you. That's rarer than you think." Dante guided me toward the grand staircase. "Your room is in the east wing. Mine is in the west. There are guards on both floors. If you need anything." "I know. Call you." I stopped at the base of the stairs. "Dante. This is all, it's too much. The dress, the restaurant, this house. I don't know how to just exist, Elena. Just be here, be safe. That's all I need." He brushed my hair back from my face, his touch achingly gentle. "Everything else, we'll figure out." My room was actually a suite bedroom, sitting area, and bathroom larger than my entire apartment. Someone had already unpacked my hastily gathered belongings, my worn clothes looking shabby against the expensive furniture. I showered, changed into my own pajamas, soft cotton that felt like defiance against his silk sheets, and was debating sleep when a knock sounded on my door. Dante stood in the hallway, and the sight of him made my breath catch. He'd changed into dark slacks and a white shirt, unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to reveal his forearms. Casual. Devastating. "Can't sleep," he said simply. "Neither can I. Walk with me?" I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. Instead, I slipped my feet into slippers and followed him through the silent house. He led me to a garden, an oasis of green in the darkness, lit by subtle path lights and the glow of the full moon. A fountain bubbled in the center, the sound soothing against the night sounds. My sister loved this garden, Dante said quietly, sitting on the fountain's edge. She'd spend hours here, reading or just thinking. I sat beside him, close enough that our shoulders touched. Tell me about her. Isabella, Bella. She was light and laughter and everything good in our world. His voice roughened. She hated what our family did, hated the violence and the secrets, but she loved me, stayed because of me. Dante, I killed her. The words were flat, emotionless. Not literally, but I might as well have. She was at that club because she was meeting me. I was late, 10 minutes late because of business, and in those 10 minutes, rival families decided to settle a score. She was collateral damage. I took his hand, threading our fingers together. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? He finally looked at me, and the pain in his eyes nearly broke me. Everyone I love becomes a target. My father, killed in his own driveway. My sister, killed for being my sister. And now you. I'm not dead, Dante. Not yet. The words were torn from somewhere deep. But Volkov won't stop. He'll come for you, use you to break me. And if I let you go now, send you away where I can't protect you, he'll just find you anyway. You're already marked. The truth of that settled over me like a shroud. There was no going back. The moment Dante had touched me, I'd been pulled into his world with all its darkness and danger. Then teach me, I said. Teach you what? How to survive in your world, how to protect myself, how to be, I struggled for the word, how to be strong enough to stand beside you instead of behind you. Dante's expression shifted, something like wonder replacing the pain. You're already strong, Tesoro. You survived assault. You rebuilt yourself. You grabbed my hand when you were terrified. That's not weakness. It feels like weakness. Being afraid all the time. Fear isn't weakness. Letting it control you is. He turned fully toward me, his free hand coming up to cup my jaw. You want to know what I see when I look at you? I see a woman who's been broken and chose to heal. Who could have let that night destroy her, but instead became a nurse, helping others? Who grabbed a stranger's hand not knowing if he'd save or hurt her, just knowing she refused to be a victim again. Tears burned my eyes. You barely know me. I know enough. His thumb traced my lower lip, his eyes dropping to my mouth. I know you're brave. I know you're stubborn. I know you taste your food carefully before committing to a bite, like you're cautious about everything in life. I know you check exits in every room. I know you haven't let anyone close in 2 years, but you're here with me, in my house, in my garden. His voice dropped to a whisper, letting me touch you. Dante, tell me to stop. His forehead pressed against mine, his breath mingling with mine. Tell me you don't feel this thing between us, and I'll walk away. I'll keep you safe from a distance. But tell me, Elena, tell me to stop. I couldn't, because every word he'd said was truth. Because his proximity made my skin electric, my heart race, my body remember that it could feel pleasure and not just pain. I can't, I breathed. His kiss was inevitability. Soft at first, questioning, giving me room to retreat. But when I pressed closer instead of pulling away, when my hand fisted in his shirt and I made a sound that was part surrender, part demand, the kiss changed, deepened, became consuming. He kissed like he did everything with complete focus, devastating skill, and an intensity that made the world disappear. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I went willingly, straddling his lap on the fountain's edge, not caring about propriety or caution. I'd been careful for so long, controlled, afraid, but Dante made me want to be reckless. His mouth moved from my lips to my jaw, down the column of my throat, finding the sensitive spot where my pulse thundered. Tell me what you want, he murmured against my skin. You. The word escaped before I could call it back. Just you, he groaned, his grip tightening, and I felt his restraint in the tension of his muscles, the careful way he held me like I might break. Not here. Not like this. When I have you, Elena, it won't be rushed in a garden. It will be in my bed, with hours to worship every inch of you. The promise in those words sent heat pooling low in my belly. Then why did you kiss me? Because I'm only human. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes, his pupils blown wide with desire. Because you looked at me like I wasn't a monster. Because I've wanted to taste you since the moment you grabbed my hand. You're not a monster. I am. His expression hardened. I've killed men, Elena. Ordered deaths. Made people disappear. The blood on my hands would fill this fountain. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to see me clearly, to know what you're choosing. He cupped my face with both hands. I'm not a hero. I'm not going to save you from anything except other monsters. But I will keep you safe. I will burn this city to ash before I let Volkov or anyone else touch you. And I will never, ever let you go. The declaration should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like the only solid ground in a world gone sideways. I don't want a hero, I said, surprising myself with the truth. I want someone real. Someone who sees the broken parts of me and doesn't flinch. Show me your broken parts, Tesoro. His voice was raw. And I'll show you mine. We sat there in the moonlight, foreheads pressed together, breathing each other's air. Around us, I sensed movement guards in the shadows, keeping watch, keeping us safe. This was his world, beauty and danger, silk and steel, love and violence existing in the same breath, and I was choosing to stay. Finally, reluctantly, we pulled apart. Dante helped me to my feet, keeping my hand in his as we walked back toward the house. Tomorrow, he said as we reached the hallway where our paths diverged, I have business to attend to. Volkov sent a message. I need to send one back. What kind of message? Go. His eyes went cold, and I saw the Mafia boss instead of the man. The kind that makes him understand you're untouchable. That even looking at you wrong carries a price. Dante, this is my world, Elena. This is what I do. He kissed my forehead, gentle despite the violence in his words. Stay here tomorrow. Safe. Let me handle this. And if I don't want to hide, then you'll break my heart. Because I can face any enemy, survive any war, but I can't survive losing you. His voice cracked on the last word. Please, just tomorrow, let me protect you my way. How could I refuse when he asked like that? When I saw past the powerful exterior to the man still bleeding from his sister's death, still terrified of failing someone else he loved? Tomorrow, I agreed. But then you tell me everything. No more secrets. Deal. He kissed me once more, quick and fierce, before walking away. I watched him go, memorizing the line of his shoulders, the controlled power in his stride. Then I returned to my room and lay awake until dawn, knowing that somewhere in the city, Dante was preparing for war. And the price of that war was written in the kiss still burning on my lips. Chapter 6. Betrayal or revelation morning came with gunfire. I woke to the crack of shots echoing through the estate, my heart hammering as I rolled out of bed and pressed myself against the wall exactly like they'd taught us in the ER's active shooter training. The door burst open. One of Dante's guards, the one from yesterday with the silver hair, stood there, gun drawn but pointed at the floor. Miss Russo, stay down. It's a drill. A what? Mr. Moretti's. Orders. Every morning, we run security protocols. He wanted you aware but not alarmed. The guard's expression was professionally neutral. He left this for you. He handed me a note before disappearing back into the hallway. Tesoro, forgive the rude awakening. My men need to be sharp. I'll return by noon. Don't leave the estate. Don't trust anyone I haven't personally introduced you to. And don't look so beautiful that I forget why I left. D. Despite everything, I smiled, but the smile faded as the morning wore on. Dante didn't return by noon. Or 1. Or 2. My calls went to voicemail. My texts remained unread. Lucia found me pacing the garden at 3 o'clock, my anxiety spiraling into full-blown panic. He's fine, she said, steering me toward a bench. This is what they do. They disappear for hours, for days sometimes. Business doesn't follow a schedule. What kind of business takes 12 hours? She studied me with those dark Moretti eyes, so like her son's. The kind you don't want to know about. The kind that keeps this family powerful and feared. Lucia, I need to understand. Do you? She leaned back, her expression shrewd. Or do you need to decide if you can live with not understanding? Because that's the real question, Kara. Can you love a man whose work you'll never fully see? Whose hands come home bloody but hold you gently? Who kills without hesitation but would die to keep you safe? I don't love him. I barely know him. Don't lie to yourself. Or to me. Her smile was sad. I see the way you look at him. The way he looks at you. It's the same way his father looked at me, 40 years ago. Like your heir and he's drowning. Before I could respond, commotion erupted from the front of the estate, car doors slamming, raised voices in Italian, the organized chaos of men with purpose. Lucia and I hurried inside to find Dante in the foyer, surrounded by his guards. His white shirt was spattered with blood, fresh and drying, his knuckles split and swollen. But he was scanning the room with lethal focus, searching. When his eyes found me, relief so profound it was almost pain flashed across his face. Elena, 3 strides and he was there, his bloody hands reaching for me before he stopped himself. Are you all right? Am I all right? You're covered in blood. Not mine. He said it like that made it better. Most of it, anyway. Dante, we need to talk, privately. His expression was granite. Now. He led me to his study, all dark wood and leather, walls lined with books and what I suspected was sophisticated surveillance equipment. He closed the door, locked it, then rounded on me with an intensity that stole my breath. I was wrong. The words were bitten off, furious. About everything. What are you talking about? Volkov, the threat, the photograph. Dante paced like a caged animal. It wasn't about territory. It was personal. Cold dread settled in my stomach. Personal how? He stopped pacing, his eyes boring into mine. Elena, what was the name of the man who attacked you 2 years ago? The one at the concert? I told you, I couldn't identify. But you filed a police report. You gave them details. Hair color, approximate height, accent. His voice was deadly calm. And I had my people pull that report this morning. They also pulled security footage from the venue, enhanced it, ran facial recognition. Why would you do that without asking me? Because I needed to know who hurt you. Because I wanted to find him, make him pay. Dante pulled out his phone, showing me a photograph. Is this the man? I looked at the screen, and my world tilted. It was him. Older than I remembered, but the same thin lips, the same predatory eyes. The man who'd drugged me, cornered me, touched me. Yes, I whispered. That's him. How did you? His name is Alexei Volkov, Sergei's younger brother. Dante's expression was murderous. Sergei didn't target you to get to me, Elena. I targeted you to get to him, because 2 years ago, his brother assaulted you. And yesterday, when I started investigating the attack, asking questions, making noise, Sergei found out. Realized I was close to discovering what Alexei did. The implications crashed over me like a wave. I'm saying you weren't safe before you met me. You were never safe. Alexei has been watching you for 2 years, waiting for an opportunity. The photograph Sergei sent wasn't a threat. It was a taunt. They knew you'd end up in my orbit eventually, because they've been monitoring you this whole time. Horror crawled up my throat. That can't be. Why would they? Because men like Alexei don't stop with one victim. Because you filed a report, made noise, became a loose end. And because... He stopped, his jaw working. Because I think they knew that eventually you'd cross paths with me, that you'd become important. This was a trap, Elena, for both of us. How would they know I'd meet you? Because I've been looking for you. The confession dropped like a bomb. Not you specifically, but someone outside this world. Someone clean and good who could make me feel human again. And in my world, when you start looking, people notice. Start making bets on who you'll choose. I staggered backward, hitting the edge of his desk. So what? You decided I was going to be that person? Before we even met? No. He closed the distance between us, his bloody hands finally reaching for me, leaving smears on my arms. No, Elena. I decided the moment you grabbed my hand. The moment you looked at me with fear and hope and trust all mixed together. That's when I chose you. But they'd been watching me. For 2 years. Yes, waiting to see if I'd notice you. If you'd become leverage. His grip tightened. And now you are. But not the way they thought. Because I'm not going to trade you or negotiate over you or let them use you as a pawn. Then what are you going to do? His smile was cold enough to freeze hell. I'm going to eliminate the threat. Alexei is dead. I killed him 3 hours ago in a warehouse across town. Slowly, painfully, while he told me everything about his sick fixation with you. I should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the casual way he admitted murder. Instead, I felt something dark and satisfied uncurl in my chest. Good. Dante's eyes widened fractionally. Elena. He deserved it. For what he did to me. For what he planned to do. My voice was steady, cold. Does that make me a monster too? No, tesoro. He pulled me against his chest, heedless of the blood transferring to my clothes. It makes you a survivor who understands justice isn't always legal. I let myself sink into his embrace, feeling his heart thunder against my cheek. Around us, the reality of his world pressed close violence and vengeance, blood and loyalty. What about Sergei? I asked. That's tomorrow's problem. Tonight. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. Tonight I need you to decide. Really decide. Because this is who I am, Elena. I kill for my family. For my territory. And now, for you. I will always choose violence if it keeps you safe. I will always be the monster in the shadows, so you can stand in the light. I'm not asking you to change. Then what are you asking? I took his bloody hands in mine, looking at the split knuckles, the evidence of what he'd done for me. I'm asking you to let me in. All the way. No more secrets. No more protecting me from the truth. If I'm going to be in your world, I need to see all of it. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. I met his gaze steadily. I'm asking you to trust me the way you want me to trust you. I'm asking for partnership, not protection. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, admiration, and something deeper that made my breath catch. You're going to destroy me, Elena Russo. Or save you. Or that. He kissed me then, fierce and claiming, tasting like coffee and danger and promises that would probably break us both. Stay. Not in the guest room. With me. In my bed. In my life. In my world. On one condition. Name it. Tomorrow, when you deal with Sergei, I go with you. Dante pulled back, shaking his head. Absolutely not. You're not. I'm not watching from the sidelines while you risk your life for me. I crossed my arms. You want me in your world? Then let me be in it. Really in it. Starting tomorrow. We stared at each other, wills clashing, neither willing to back down. Finally, Dante laughed a real laugh, rough and genuine. You're going to be the death of me, or the life of you. That too. He kissed my forehead, then my nose, then my lips. Fine, tomorrow. But you stay where I can see you, you wear a vest, and you do exactly what I say when I say it. Deal. And tonight, his voice dropped, intimate and dark. Tonight you stay with me. Let me wash this blood off. Let me show you the man beneath the monster. I nodded, knowing I was crossing a line I'd never be able to uncross. But as he led me upstairs to his private sanctuary, his hand warm and solid in mine, I realized I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go forward, into the darkness, with him. Chapter 7. Confrontation. Dante's bedroom was a study in contradictions. Military precision in the organized weapons cabinet. Softness in the California king bed with its slate-gray sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the estate. But I noticed the bulletproof glass, the security sensors embedded in the frames. Even in his most private space, he was prepared for war. Shower, he said, gesturing to the massive ensuite bathroom. I'll find you something to wear. I watched him disappear into a walk-in closet while I stood frozen, suddenly aware of what I'd agreed to. Not sex, he hadn't promised that, but intimacy, the kind that came from sharing space and vulnerability and truths you couldn't take back. The shower had multiple heads, steam features, and enough space for several people. I stepped under the spray, letting the hot water wash away the tension of the day, trying not to think about Dante washing blood from his hands just one room away. But I did think about it, pictured him methodical and thorough, scrubbing away evidence the same way he probably scrubbed away emotion, compartmentalizing violence so he could come home and be gentle with his mother, with me. How did someone learn to live like that? The bathroom door opened. Through the frosted glass, I saw Dante's silhouette he'd stripped to boxer briefs, revealing the powerful body I'd only felt beneath his clothes. Scars marked his torso. A roadmap of violence survived. May I join you? His voice was rough. I just need to be close to you right now. Yes. He stepped into the shower, and the sight of him stole my breath. Water sluiced over defined muscles, through dark hair on his chest that arrowed down past the waistband of his shorts. But it was his face that held me vulnerable in a way I'd never seen, like he'd used up all his armor for the day and had nothing left. Tell me what happened today, I said softly. All of it. So he did. He told me about finding Alexei in a warehouse, surrounded by photographs, hundreds of them, all of me, taken over 2 years, chronicling my routines, my habits, my life. He told me about the interrogation, the information extracted with methods I didn't ask him to detail. He told me about the moment Alexei had bragged about what he'd planned to do, how he'd been waiting for the perfect opportunity. And he told me about the phone call to Sergei afterward, the one where Dante had explained in explicit detail what happened to men who touched what was his. I declared war, Dante said flatly, over you, against one of the most powerful families in the city. My advisors think I'm insane. They're probably right. I reached up, cupping his face, forcing him to look at me. You're not insane. You're loyal, protective. Those aren't flaws. They are when they put you in more danger. I was already in danger. You just made sure I knew it, instead of living in blissful ignorance. His hands found my waist, pulling me against him. The feel of his skin against mine, wet and warm and vital, made everything sharper, more real. I can't lose you, he whispered against my hair. I know it's too soon. I know we barely know each other. But Elena, I can't. You're already under my skin, in my head, wrapped around my heart. If something happened to you, nothing's going to happen to me. You won't let it. Damn right I won't. He pulled back, his eyes fierce. Tomorrow when we meet Sergei, it's going to get ugly. He'll try to use you, manipulate you, make you see me as the villain. You need to be ready for that. I'm ready. Are you? His thumb traced my collarbone. Because he's going to tell you things about me. True things. Numbers of people I've killed. Businesses I've destroyed. Families I've ruined. He'll paint me as a monster because that's what I am to him. You're not a monster to me. Not yet. But you haven't seen me in that world. Haven't watched me make the hard calls, give the brutal orders. His voice dropped. I need you to promise me something. What? Tomorrow, whatever you see, whatever happens, remember this moment. Remember me here, with you, being honest. Because the man you see tomorrow might frighten you, but he's still me, still the man who'd burn the world to keep you safe. I understood what he was asking, permission to be ruthless. Forgiveness in advance for the darkness I was about to witness. I promise, I said, as long as you promise something too. Anything. Don't hide from me. Don't try to shield me from what you do or who you are. I'm choosing this. Dante, I'm choosing you. All of you. His kiss was answer and oath, desperate and claiming. His hands roamed my body, learning curves and scars, finding the place on my ribs where I'd broken a bone as a child, the birthmark on my hip, the sensitive spot behind my ear that made me gasp. Not yet, he murmured when my hand drifted lower, when the kiss threatened to become more. When I have you, really have you, it won't be when we're both exhausted and terrified. It'll be when I can take my time, make you forget everything but my name, Dante. Soon, Tesoro, I promise. But tonight, just let me hold you. We finished showering in charged silence, the air thick with promise and restraint. He dried me off with reverent care, dressed me in one of his t-shirts that hit mid-thigh, then led me to his bed. The sheets were cool, expensive, and smelled like him. He pulled me against his chest, my back to his front, his arm an iron band around my waist. Sleep, he commanded softly. Tomorrow comes early. But I couldn't sleep, not with his heart beating against my spine, his breath stirring my hair, his obvious arousal pressed against me despite his restraint. Dante? I'm not afraid of you. I need you to know that. Whatever I see tomorrow, whoever you become, I'm not afraid. His arm tightened. You should be, but I'm not. I turned in his embrace, meeting his eyes in the darkness. Because I see you, really see you, and you're not a monster. You're a man doing monstrous things to protect people he loves. That's different. Is it? Yes. I kissed him, soft and sure. It is. We lay there in the darkness, listening to guards patrol the halls, to the distant sound of traffic beyond the estate walls. Tomorrow would bring violence and confrontation and truths I couldn't predict. But tonight, wrapped in Dante's arms, I felt safer than I had in 2 years. Even if that safety was an illusion. Even if choosing him meant choosing danger. I'd grabbed his hand in a crowd, and he'd promised never to let go. Now I just had to trust that his grip was strong enough to hold us both through whatever came next. Chapter 8. Choice morning came with purpose. I woke to find Dante already dressed in a dark suit, checking weapons with the same casual efficiency most people check their phones. 2 guns, several magazines, a knife I tried not to think about. Wear this. He handed me a thin vest, bulletproof. I realized with a jolt. It's lightweight. You can wear it under your clothes. Is this really necessary? His expression was answer enough. Sergei requested a meeting. Neutral ground, a restaurant he controls. He wants to negotiate. Which means it's a trap. Probably. Dante helped me into the vest, his fingers lingering at the straps. But it's also an opportunity. He'll have his entire inner circle there. If I can make him back down publicly, we avoid a full-scale war. And if he doesn't back down, then people die. He said it flatly. Matter of fact. Hopefully not us. I dressed in jeans and a dark sweater that hid the vest, pulled my hair into a practical ponytail. In the mirror, I looked like myself but harder. Ready. Dante caught my eye in the reflection. Last chance to stay here. Safe. No. His smile was proud and terrified in equal measure. That's my girl. The drive into the city felt surreal, ordinary traffic, ordinary people going about their lives, completely unaware that in a few hours, violence might erupt in their streets. Dante sat beside me, radiating controlled danger, while his guards filled 2 additional SUVs in our convoy. When we get there, he said, you stay behind me, always. You don't speak unless spoken to directly. And if shooting starts, you drop and let my men handle it. Dante, promise me, Elena. His hand found mine, gripping hard. Promise me you'll follow orders. Because I can't do what needs to be done if I'm worried about you. I promise. The restaurant was in Little Russia Volkov territory. The lunch crowd had been cleared out, leaving only Sergei's men lining the walls like statues. 20 of them at least, all armed, all watching as we entered. Sergei sat at a table in the center of the room, a king holding court. He was older than I'd expected, late 50s, graying at the temples, with cold eyes that assessed me like merchandise. Moretti. His accent was thick, his smile predatory. You brought your little nurse. How thoughtful. Volkov. Dante's voice could have cut glass. You asked for a meeting. Here I am. Sit, eat. Let's be civilized. Sergei gestured to the empty chairs. Despite recent unpleasantness. You mean your brother's death? Dante sat, positioning me behind his chair where I could see but not be easily targeted. Unpleasant for you, perhaps? Cathartic for me. Sergei's smile never wavered, but his eyes went arctic. Alexei was family. Alexei was a predator. He drugged and assaulted women. He stalked Elena for 2 years. He deserved worse than what I gave him. Perhaps. Sergei sipped his vodka. But you killed him on my territory without permission. That's disrespect. Bad for business. Then maybe you should control your family better. Make sure they don't target what's mine. The possessiveness in Dante's voice sent heat through me despite the danger. Sergei's eyes flicked to me, assessment in his gaze. She must be special. To start a war over a woman you've known less than a week. She is. No hesitation. Which is why I'm giving you one chance to walk away. Forget about Alexei. Forget about Elena. And we maintain our current territories without bloodshed. And if I don't agree? Dante leaned back, every inch the Mafia boss. Then I dismantle your organization piece by piece. I already have 5 of your suppliers ready to flip. Your accountant is on my payroll. And your second in command? He smiled. Let's just say his loyalty is negotiable. The temperature in the room dropped. Sergei's men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. But Sergei raised a hand, stopping them. You've been busy. I'm always busy. It's why I run this city, and you just rent space in it. Dante's voice was silk over steel. The question is whether you're smart enough to see you've already lost, or if pride is going to cost you everything. For a long moment, silence reigned. I held my breath, watching 20 armed men watch us, waiting for someone to make the wrong move. Then Sergei laughed, a genuine bark of amusement. You have balls, Moretti. I'll give you that. I have more than that. I have 300 soldiers ready to move on your operations the moment I give the word. I have the police commissioner in my pocket. I have judges, politicians, and businessmen who owe me favors. Dante leaned forward. What do you have, Sergei? Anger over a brother who was always going to end up dead or in prison? Pride? That's not enough. The older man studied Dante, then me, then Dante again. I saw calculation in his eyes, the internal math of cost versus benefit. One condition, Sergei finally said. Name it. Your woman, she testifies. Police report. Everything Alexei did. Let it be official. That way, when people ask why there's no retaliation, I can say justice was served through proper channels. Dante stiffened. That puts her in the system, makes her visible. A target. She's already a target. At least this way, there's documentation, insurance. Sergei smiled coldly. Unless you don't trust your ability to protect her? I felt Dante's fury radiating from him. Knew he was seconds from refusing. But this was the way to end this without more death. I'll do it, I said quietly. Elena, I'll do it. I moved from behind Dante's chair, standing beside him. If it ends this without more people dying, I'll give my testimony. Make it official. Sergei studied me with new interest. She has courage. Your nurse. More than I expected. She has everything. Dante stood, pulling me against his side. Do we have a deal? We have a deal. Sergei raised his glass. To peace. And to the woman who brokered it. The tension bled from the room like air from a punctured tire. Men relaxed fractionally. Weapons stayed holstered. Disaster was averted. But as we left the restaurant and climbed back into the SUV, I saw Dante's hands shaking. You shouldn't have done that, he said once we were moving. Volunteering to testify. That's dangerous. Everything about your world is dangerous. At least this way it serves a purpose. It makes you vulnerable. Exposes you. I've been exposed since the moment I grabbed your hand. I took those shaking hands in mine, steadying them. This is me choosing to be in your world, Dante. Really in it. Not hiding behind you, but standing beside you. He pulled me into his lap, burying his face in my neck. You're going to give me a heart attack. Or make your heart stronger. That too. He pulled back, cupping my face. You were incredible in there. Brave. Decisive. Exactly what I needed. I just told the truth. That I'd do whatever it took to keep you safe. Keep me safe? He laughed incredulously. Elena, I'm supposed to be protecting you. Maybe we protect each other. Something shifted in his expression, wonder and love and acceptance all tangled together. Maybe we do. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, while the city blurred past the windows and his guards pretended not to notice. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, I saw our future written in his eyes. Dangerous, complicated, worth it. Take me home, I whispered against his lips. Which home? Your apartment or your estate? Our home. I met his gaze steadily. I'm not going back, Dante. To my old life, my old apartment. I'm staying with you, if you'll have me. His answer was another kiss, fiercer this time, full of promise. I'll have you, he murmured. Today, tomorrow, forever. In my bed, in my life, in my world. Even though I'm difficult and stubborn and probably going to drive you crazy, especially because of that. He smiled against my mouth. You're mine, Elena Russo. And I take care of what's mine. Show me, I challenged. When we get home, show me exactly how you take care of what's yours. His eyes darkened with heat and promise. Careful what you ask for, Tesoro. Because once I start, I won't stop until you're completely mine, body and soul. Good. I kissed him once more, sealing the promise. Because I don't want you to stop. The drive home felt like foreplay-charged touches, heated glances, whispered promises of what waited behind closed doors. By the time we reached the estate, I was trembling with anticipation. This was the choice, the final line, and I was crossing it willingly. Into the darkness, into his arms, into a love that was probably going to destroy us both. But God, what a beautiful destruction it would be. Chapter 9. Climax. We barely made it inside before Dante's restraint shattered. His hands were in my hair, his mouth on mine, backing me against the closed door of his bedroom with controlled desperation. The vest came off first. He unstrapped it with practiced efficiency, letting it fall to the floor with a heavy thunk. I've wanted this since the moment you grabbed my hand. He rasped against my lips. Wanted to taste every inch of you. Claim you so completely you forget every other man who's ever touched you. There haven't been any. Not since. I couldn't finish. But he understood. His expression softened, even as his hands continued their exploration. Then, I'll be your first. In all the ways that matter. He lifted me easily, carrying me to the massive bed and laying me down like I was something precious. The afternoon light streamed through the windows, leaving nowhere to hide. But I didn't want to hide. Not anymore. Dante stripped off his suit jacket, shoulder holster, the weapons that marked him as dangerous. Then he climbed over me, caging me with his arms, his weight a comfort instead of a threat. "We go at your pace," he said, his voice rough with need but underlaid with steel control. "You say stop, we stop. No questions. I don't want to stop. Then tell me what you want, Tesoro. Use your words. You." I pulled him down for a kiss. "I want you. All of you." His mouth moved from my lips to my jaw, down my throat, finding every sensitive spot. His hands pushed up my sweater, fingertips tracing the curve of my ribs, the swell of my breasts. "Beautiful," he murmured against my skin. "So damn beautiful." Clothing disappeared piece by piece, my sweater, his shirt, my jeans, his pants until we were skin against skin, heat against heat. He took his time, mapping my body with his hands and mouth, learning what made me gasp, what made me arch, what made me forget my own name. When he finally settled between my thighs, his eyes met mine, dark and intense, and full of promise. "Mine," he breathed. "Say it, Elena. Say you're mine. Yours," I whispered back. "I'm yours." The claiming was slow, deliberate, devastating. He watched my face the entire time, reading every reaction, adjusting to my responses. There was no pain, only pleasure building and building until I shattered in his arms, his name a prayer on my lips. And when he followed me over the edge, his face buried in my neck, my name breaking from his throat like a confession, I understood. This wasn't just physical. This was surrender, complete and irrevocable. We lay tangled together afterward, sweat slicked and breathing hard, the enormity of what we'd done settling over us like a blanket. "No going back now," Dante murmured, pressing kisses to my shoulder. "I don't want to go back." "Good." He pulled me tighter against him. "Because I meant what I said. You're mine now. And I don't share. Possessive much? You have no idea." He nipped at my earlobe. "But you'll learn. We have time." Time. The word felt like a gift and a gamble. In his world, time wasn't guaranteed. Every day was borrowed, every moment stolen from the violence that lurked at the edges. But right now, wrapped in his arms, safe behind the walls of his estate, I chose to believe in tomorrow. Chose to believe in us. The sound of commotion downstairs shattered our peace. Dante was on his feet instantly, pulling on pants, grabbing his gun from the nightstand. "Stay here. Like hell." I grabbed my clothes, dressing quickly. "We're in this together, remember?" He looked like he wanted to argue, but footsteps pounded up the stairs. One of his guards burst through the door, face pale. "Boss, we've got a situation. Volkov's men, they're at the gates. At least 50 of them. Armed." Ice flooded my veins. "But we had a deal. Apparently Sergei's dead." The guard's expression was grim. "Shot in his car 20 minutes ago. His nephew Yuri is claiming we broke the truce. He's demanding Elena, says she's the price for peace." Dante's face went blank, the complete absence of emotion that was somehow more terrifying than rage. "Over my dead body. That's what he's counting on," the guard said. "He's got the entire Volkov crew out there. This is an execution, boss. They're not here to negotiate." My heart hammered. "This is my fault. If I hadn't testified." "You didn't testify yet." Dante gripped my shoulders. "This was planned. Sergei's death, the timing someone wanted this war, wanted us vulnerable. Then let me go to them. If it stops, no." The word was absolute. "I will burn this estate to the ground before I let them touch you." "Dante," I said. "No, Elena." His eyes were dark fire. "You're mine, and I protect what's mine. No matter the cost." He turned to his guard. "Call everyone, every soldier we have. I want this place locked down like a fortress. And get my mother to the safe room." "Already done, boss." "Good." Dante's jaw clenched. "Then it's time to show Yuri Volkov what happens when you threaten a Moretti." The next hour was chaos. Dante transformed from the tender lover into the ruthless Mafia boss, barking orders, positioning men, turning his home into a battleground. I watched from the study's window as more SUVs arrived, disgorging armed men who took positions throughout the estate. "We're outnumbered," I said quietly. "Numbers don't matter when you're defending home ground." Dante checked his weapons with mechanical precision. "They have to breach the walls, cross open ground, get through my men. Every advantage is ours, unless they have a way in we don't know about." His eyes cut to me. "What do you mean?" You said someone planned this. What if they also planned a way past your defenses? Dante went very still. Then he was on his radio, barking orders to check the perimeter, the underground tunnels, the service entrances. The answer came back within minutes. The east tunnel had been compromised. Someone had cut through the security, left the gate unlocked. Inside job, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. Someone on my crew sold us out. Before I could respond, gunfire erupted. The assault was swift and brutal, Volkov's men pouring through the compromised tunnel while others provided covering fire from outside the walls. Dante's men responded with disciplined violence, holding the line, but I could see the math. We were being overwhelmed. Elena, go to the safe room. Now. Dante pulled me toward the door. I'm not leaving you. You are, because if you stay, I can't do what needs to be done. He cupped my face, desperation cracking through his control. Please, Tesoro, please go. Let me protect you. The sound of breaking glass echoed from downstairs. They were in the house. I love you. I blurted out, the words torn from somewhere deep. I know it's too soon and too crazy, but I love you, Dante Moretti, and you better stay alive. His kiss was fierce and fast. I love you too. Now go. He pushed me toward his guard, the silver-haired one who grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the hidden door behind the bookshelf. The last thing I saw was Dante walking toward the stairs, gun drawn, every inch, the warrior king defending his kingdom. Then the door closed, and I was in darkness. Chapter 10. Resolution. The safe room was small, reinforced steel, designed to withstand anything short of a direct missile strike. Lucia sat inside already, rosary beads in her hands, lips moving in silent prayer. Elena. She pulled me down beside her. He'll survive. He always does. How can you be so calm? Because I've lived through 30 years of this. My husband, my son, they're survivors. Fighters. She squeezed my hand. Have faith. But faith was hard when gunfire rattled the walls, when explosions shook the foundation, when every instinct screamed to run toward the danger instead of hiding from it. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time lost meaning in the silence between gunshots. Then, finally, silence. Complete and total. The door to the safe room opened, and my heart stopped until I saw Dante. Alive. Bloody but alive. I launched myself at him, and he caught me, holding me so tight I couldn't breathe. It's over, he murmured into my hair. It's over, Tesoro. You're safe. What happened? Yuri's dead. So are most of his men. The rest surrendered. His voice was flat, exhausted. My people found the traitor, one of my accountants, bought by Volkov money. He's been dealt with. How many did we lose? 7 men, good men. Pain flickered across his face. But we won. The Volkov family is broken. Their territory is ours. The war is over. I pulled back, studying his face. Blood streaked his cheek, not his, I hoped. His knuckles were raw. His eyes were haunted. This was the man I'd chosen. The warrior. The killer. The protector. Take me upstairs, I said softly. Let me clean you up. We left Lucia with promises to check on her later, and climbed the stairs through a house that showed the scars of battle bullet holes in walls, shattered windows, blood on the marble floors. In his bathroom, I stripped him carefully, checking for wounds. A graze on his ribs, bruises blooming across his torso, but nothing life-threatening. You should see the other guys, he joked weakly. I don't want to see them. I just want to see you, alive. I cleaned his wounds with gentle hands while he sat on the edge of the tub, watching me with an intensity that made my heart ache. You could leave now, he said quietly. Walk away. I'd let you. Give you money, protection, a new identity if you wanted. You'd be free. Is that what you want? No. The word was torn from him. God, no. I want you here. With me. Always. But Elena, this is my life. Violence. Danger. Days like today. I can't promise it'll ever be different. I set down the antiseptic, kneeling between his legs so we were eye level. I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to let me stay. To let me be part of this life. Not just an observer of it. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. I took his face in my hands. I'm saying I choose you. The violence and the tenderness. The danger and the safety. The darkness and the light. All of it. All of you. Even knowing what I've done? What I'll do again. especially knowing that. I kissed him softly. Because I see you, Dante. Really see you. And you're not just a monster. You're a man trying to protect the people you love. That's enough for me. His arms came around me, pulling me against his chest. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. He laughed, the sound broken and beautiful. I can live with that. We stayed there on the bathroom floor, holding each other while the sun set beyond the windows and the estate settled into quiet. Guards patrolled, cleaning crews worked, and life in the Moretti household adapted to its new normal. Our new normal. Later, much later, we lay in his bed clean, exhausted, alive. His hand traced lazy patterns on my hip, my head rested on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Marry me," he said suddenly. I lifted my head, staring at him. "What?" "Marry me, Elena. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I'm not letting you go. Ever. So marry me. Make it official. Let me give you my name, my protection, my everything. Dante, I'm not asking you to answer now. Think about it. Take as long as you need." His voice softened. "But know that I'm serious. I want you as my wife, my partner, my equal in all things." I studied his face in the darkness, the sharp lines, the dangerous beauty, the vulnerability he only showed me. "Ask me again in 3 months," I said finally, "when the dust has settled, when we've had time to breathe. And if you still want this, if I still want this, then yes, I'll marry you." His smile was brilliant, transforming his face. 3 months. I can live with that. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you move in officially. Start working at the hospital again if you want, with a security detail. Learn the business, meet the family, become part of this world. He pulled me closer. We build a life together. See if we can survive the ordinary days as well as we survived today. I think we can. Yeah? Yeah. I kissed him, slow and deep. Because I didn't grab the wrong hand in that crowd, Dante. I grabbed exactly the right one. The hand that would never let me go. Never, he promised against my lips. Not in this life or the next. 3 months later, I stood in Dante's study, our study now reviewing security reports while he handled a conference call. My engagement ring caught the light, a massive diamond that probably cost more than my student loans. He'd asked again last week, gone down on one knee in this very room, and I'd said yes without hesitation. The hospital had welcomed me back with open arms and a security detail that made my coworkers whisper. I'd given my testimony about Alexei, endured the questions and the scrutiny, and watched as the case was officially closed. The Volkov empire had been absorbed into Moretti Holdings. Peace, uneasy but holding, had settled over the city's underworld. Dante ruled with the same ruthless efficiency, but I'd learned to see the strategy behind the violence, the protection in the power. I'd learned to live in his world, and more than that, I'd learned to thrive in it. "Elena," Dante ended his call, crossing to me with predatory grace. "You look entirely too sexy reviewing those reports. It's just numbers. It's you, in my office, wearing my ring, understanding my world." His hand settled on my waist. "That's sexy," I laughed, looping my arms around his neck. "You're biased. Absolutely." He kissed me, thorough and claiming. "But I'm also right. So modest. Modesty is for men who have something to be modest about." He grinned against my mouth. "I have everything I want. Why would I be modest? You're impossible. And yet you love me. Against all logic and reason. Yes, I do." His expression sobered, turning tender. "I know it hasn't been easy. The adjustment, the danger, the scrutiny. It's been worth it." I met his eyes steadily. "You're worth it. Even on days when I have to make the hard calls, give the brutal orders? Especially then, because you trust me enough to see it, to share the burden." I cupped his face. "We're partners, remember? In everything." "Partners?" He agreed. "Equals. And soon, husband and wife." His smile was pure satisfaction. "Can't wait. Though my mother is already driving me crazy with wedding plans. She just wants it to be perfect. It'll be perfect because you'll be there. The rest is just details." I kissed him again, pouring 3 months of love and trust and hard-won understanding into it. When we pulled apart, both breathless, I saw our future reflected in his eyes. Complicated, dangerous, beautiful. I'd grabbed a stranger's hand in a crowd, looking for safety, and I'd found so much more. I'd found home. I'd found love. I'd found the man who'd never let me go, and who I'd never want to leave. "Take me to bed, Mr. Moretti," I whispered. "With pleasure, future Mrs. Moretti." He swept me into his arms, carrying me toward the stairs while his guards pretended not to notice. And I laughed, truly laughed, because this was my life now. Dangerous and protected, violent and tender, shadowed and lit with love, and I wouldn't change a single thing.